Well, good evening. Hey, Barbie D. Welcome to the pre-show. Just getting all set up here. And I got to do a couple of things, hit a couple of buttons. Let's see. I got to do that and that and that and that and done and save. Boom, boom, boom. A few seconds. I need to start up the link to the radio station. And it's in right now. Boom. There, the link to the radio station is up. It's not the show yet, though. What'd you do to your foot?
I stepped on a rock.
Ow. Nice. Sharp rock. Rinse that baby off. All right. We're live. Hey, Grumpy. How you doing? Grumpy Stack. Roger Rabbit, good to see you. Morgan Snow, good to see you too. How's everybody tonight? Good, I hope. I just got off of doing 2 hours of radio with Peter Robbins. And if you don't know him, I first met Peter. He wrote his book, Left of East Gate, UFO. He's a big UFO guy. He's got his own show over on KGRA radio. And he had me on for a couple of hours tonight. That was fun. Good to hear, Grumpy. Hope business is going well. Let's get this mic in the right spot. Boom, boom. Down there. Boom. What is that? Oh, it's a sort of Flynn's that a neighbor gave to him on his 5th or 6th birthday. It's part of a scavenger hunt. I got to get this cleaned up and get a nice handle put on that for him. We dug that out of a box the other day, so it's sitting there. Hot as hell, says Grumpy Stack, in Das Boot. Yeah, it's hot here too. Well, not right now. It's humid outside. It's not super hot. I think it was in the up 70s, 80 today, the last couple of days, and very humid. So we've got the air conditioner on, and of course, it's absolutely freezing cold down here. It's, thank you, Leslie. That was our neighbor Jim did a scavenger hunt for Flynn when we had his pirate birthday party. If you've seen that picture, that older picture of the whole family done up as pirates, it's pre-Ellery. So Flynn, I think, was 5 years old, turning 5 or turning 6. And neighbor Jim did a treasure map for him, which we've still got somewhere. And he had to follow all the clues. And that's what he dug up, that treasure, that sword. So we got to get that cleaned up for him one of these days. Yeah, we turn on the air and it's absolutely, in the wintertime, it's freezing upstairs and hot. No, other way. Hot upstairs, freezing down here. Same in the summer. It's warmer. It's 10, 15 degrees warmer upstairs with the air on. All right, guys, we're going to go dark. We're going to go live, so sit tight. Be right back.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROVERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Hey, folks, it's me, your humble, lovable host, Scotty Roberts, right here on the Intrepid radio program here on Odyssey Radio. That's ODYSY radio.com. Come on over, see all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio. Check out all the other shows that are on there. And you can watch this show tonight now also in a video simulcast. You can listen to the audio over on Odyssey Radio, or you can come on over to the Facebook page, facebook.com/Odyssey Radio, to see this in its video simulcast. And you can also come over to hear my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts, where you can join the family of Intrepids that are in the chat room right now. Join them, join the conversation, or you can just hang in the wings. Nobody will even know you're there if you want to watch this show in its video format. And while you're here, hit the like button on the YouTube channel. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. And also, you can hit the little join button down here somewhere. There's a join button under the window, and you can find out how you can become a member of this program. And I thank you already in advance. Hey to everybody over in the chat room. Uncle Dave is driving in his car, so he won't be too chatty tonight, and that's okay. If you're parked by the time we get into the captain's cabin after the show, you can join me over there for a little bit, Dave. Also, when this show is over on the radio station, we will stay live right here on the YouTube channel. So you can come over and join it for the Captain's Cabin, which takes place. That's kind of our afterglow sort of site. And thank you to all the listeners for naming it the Captain's Cabin. So you can come there, and we don't necessarily continue the conversation from the radio show. We just go into other stuff. We just stay live. So join us over here. And it's been an eventful weekend. My daughters, Abby and Bryn, some of you got to meet them on Friday night in the captain's cabin. I thought I would get them for a little more time, but they were absolutely exhausted after having caught a flight up here from North Carolina, and they drove over from the airport, and they were just wiped out. So we sat and talked for a few minutes after the show, and that was it, and they were off to bed. But they went to the carnival with us on Saturday, which was already pre-scheduled. The Scouts, Flynn with the Boy Scouts, was working the pea soup booth. And they also did brisket and all of that. He had to work that for a couple of hours, and because it was pea soup days here in Somerset, Wisconsin. You missed it. So, yeah, the girls were on for just a few seconds, Leslie. They stopped in to say hi. So it was good to have them here. That's why we canceled the Sunday morning show. It's Sunday because the kids were here, and they were taking off for some activities. It was their grandmother's, on their mother's side, their grandmother's 80th birthday or 90th birthday. And so they wanted to go over to her house. They flew up for that, and then spent the rest of the weekend here. But I did a pancake breakfast before they left and sent them on their way. And I think they head back to North Carolina tomorrow. So that was my weekend. I hope your weekend was eventful as mine. I was pretty tired out for some reason, so we didn't do a lot. We did that carnival, which is hanging out outside. It was a nice day, watching the kids do rides. I don't do rides very well anymore. It's actually been many years. When Abby and Bryn were like 7 or 8 years old, older than that, 10 or 12, there was a little carnival by our house. And we went over there, and I did one of those spinny, twirly egg beater type of machines. And we were the last ones there as the sun was going down. They were getting ready to close. And there were 3 of us on that ride, 3 other people other than my girls and me. And the guy's going, "You want to go again?" And I'm like, "No, I'm going to puke." And my girls are like, "Yes, let's go again." So I can't do that anymore. There's something, I don't know, it's age, inner ear stuff. I don't know if that can ever be fixed. But when we went to Disney World last fall, I did a couple of coasters, and that was about it. I said, what is the thrill of being thrown around like this and up and down? And I almost puked my guts out on the Mummy ride. And I was like, okay, not doing rides like that anymore. I couldn't do the coasters with them. I used to love coasters. Can't do them so much anymore. So maybe it's a chiropractic thing. I'll tell them, hey, clear up that so I can go on roller coasters again. That's what I want to do. So anyway, we watched the kids do coasters on Saturday, do all the rides on Saturday. Even my daughters at 30, one of my daughters after the Ferris wheel or something was like, I can't do these anymore like that. So you just inherited that from your dad. So Leslie says, go get a book or 2 or 3. TheSwordandTheClay.com. Yes, thank you, Leslie. Folks, if you haven't seen it, it's right here. SwordandTheClay.com. I wrote this book and illustrated it. It's like a glorified kids book, but it's for adults, and adults will enjoy it just as much as kids. You can get that book at TheSwordandTheClay.com. Thank you, Leslie, for mentioning that over in the chat room. And I think you'll really enjoy it. I just came off of 2 hours with my good friend, Peter Robbins. Now, if you don't know Peter Robbins, he wrote Left at Eastgate several years ago about the Rendlesham UFO event, I guess you'd call it. Thick book. And it's a very good book, and he's one of your UFO aficionados, but he's also an artist. He's a painter. He is an historian. He's a paranormalist. He's all these things. And he had me on his show tonight over on KGRA radio for 2 hours. And so that was a fun show. And for you, you might, it'll be, there'll be a up, and I'll post the link later. It was live earlier tonight. But he asked me a lot of questions about me personally, my childhood, what got me into doing the things I do. Why did I become interested in Egypt? Why am I I'm not an official historian because I don't have a degree in history, but I did go to school for history. I've spent 40 years studying history. So I am what you would call an amateur historian or an armchair historian or a rapscallion, a rogue historian and a rapscallion theologian is what I like to say. So we got to talk about a lot of that stuff. So Morgan Snow is here. Welcome. Guess I am in the Downs. Not a good weekend. Your brother-in-law died. I'm so sorry, Morgan Snow. From the bottom of my heart. I hope you feel better. And a close friend of my daughter unexpectedly. You know, we're all getting, in my age group of people, we're getting to that place where people we used to know, people we love, are passing away faster. And it's like I've said many times, I'm not just convinced, I know that I have fewer years ahead of me than I have behind me. Unless I should live to be 123 years old, which I doubt it, the rate I'm going. So mortality is with us. And there is a biblical verse that I've always hailed to in times of loss of loved ones and family, where Paul said, we sorrow not as those who have no hope. Now, I don't know what your hope is, Morgan, or others of you out there, but there are certainly things we have to hope for. When I was in Christianity, the hope of the resurrection, the hope of seeing them again. It's not over. And if you are not of Judeo-Christian or Islam or any major religion, maybe you're pagan, which I guess is a major religion, just not organized like the others, but very ancient, you will also see them again. So if that's of any comfort, I hope that helps. Morgan Snow over in our chat room. And words are empty when you're hurting. I get that. So Leslie in the chat room says, I don't fear death. I'm excited to reunite with too many I've lost. Yeah, there is that. Morgan Snow says, since 2009, 2 deaths a year, and all people close to me. That's rough. I'm sorry about that, Morgan. I can't relate to that. All I can relate to is I've lost loved ones and friends too. And it's not easy. I get that. Hey, Delaney Pearl Jones, welcome into the chat room again. And excuse me, I've got a dry cough again that's been building for the last couple of weeks. So a little dry on the throat and stuff like that. So pardon me if I cough. I don't always hit my cough button. So you'll have to live with that, everyone. And so it was a fun conversation with Peter earlier tonight. It was just kind of things you've all heard on this show over the years, several times over, probably. We talked about my experiences in Egypt. We talked about the figure that I captured on camera, and a little bit about that, about the jinn, about visions, about talking about early life. What led me to believe the things I believe? And it's kind of funny. I've never really talked about those in a deep way before, because he asked some question. Well, why did you go into the church? What led you there? And I'm like, I really don't know other than this, and this. So we got to talk about that. Pearl Jones says, only flesh dies. Spirit is eternal. I got vids proving so. There you go. She's got the videos proving it. And but I agree with you, Delaney. So the flesh is simply a vessel. Race Hobbs, welcome to the program, Race Hobbs, from over at the UnX Radio. He says that every time life stops giving and begins to take away, it's there we strengthen our resolve to cherish every moment, because that'll never come again. That's right. Make use of the time that we have, because it will never come again. At least certainly not the same way we experience it in this life. So there it is. Anybody out there that's hurting, I hope that is somewhat helpful to you. Pardon me, folks. I know this is radio. Some of you can't see this. Some of you can. I have to go shut my door. So stay there. I'm still here.
Sorry,
I don't know if you can hear me. It's okay. Sorry. Our pug is humping Rainey, and she was upstairs yelling, "No, stop now!" And I don't know why she does it. Female dog, she gets all excited and she'll go hump Rainey's leg, and Rainey's like, "Stop!" Iowa X says, "What's shaking? Is it my desk like this? Iowa, is that what you're seeing?" Yeah, I got up and bumped my desk and it shakes. It's a big, solid desk, but it still does that. So Leslie says, tomorrow is promised to no one. That's very true. That's right. It reminds me of the old story of the servant of a man in ancient Baghdad, or around Baghdad, ancient times. And he went to the marketplace to run an errand for his master. And while in the marketplace, he sees death. And Death gave him a grimacing look from across the way. And the servant, in fear, runs back to his master's home. And he says, I saw Death in the marketplace. And Death was grimaced at me in a menacing way. I must run. And so the master gave him some money and gave him a mule and some goods, food, and said, go to Baghdad then. He says, I'm going to run to Baghdad to hide from Death. So the next day dawns, his servants run off to Baghdad, and the master goes down to the marketplace to find Death and find out why he wants his servant, his good servant. And so he's in the marketplace and looks around for a while. Finally, over in the shadows, he sees Death standing there. And he approaches Death. And he says, Death, why? I think of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, something like that. One of the first movies they made, they encountered Death. Hey, Death, how's it hanging? That's what they said to him. But he approaches Death. And he says, I want to talk with you. Why did you see my servant yesterday and give him a grimacing, menacing look and frightened him? And Death said, oh, good sir. He says, I was not grimacing nor menacing toward your servant. What he saw on my face was merely surprise. He said, because here I am in your city, and I see him in the marketplace, when I knew today, in the evening, I have an appointment with him in Baghdad. So, poignant little story that have had many different versions told of that. But you can't cheat death. You can't escape it. It's there. When the appointed time comes, you can't undo that. So it's there. It's inevitable. We all have to face it. Ben Franklin said, death and taxes. So that's what it is. Good fly swat will help that, said Ray Hobbs. I think you're talking about my desk wiggling. So there you go. Let's move on into the meditations. I hope you're enjoying this. The meditations are taking us a long time to get through and a long time yet to come, because there's more to come. We may take breaks from it if we need to from time to time. But I think, if anything, when we're done with this, you will be able to say, I have either already, I've read, or I've heard a whole semester, if you will, on Marcus Aurelius and his meditations. This is one of the most profound books written in ancient times that is still profound today. And keep in mind, one of the early titles of the book literally meant to himself. These are things that Marcus Aurelius wasn't necessarily compiling as a book for people to read. Go get my book, $29.95. You can have my book on your shelf that will tell you everything there is to know about life. That's not it. He was writing these things to himself, as affirmations to himself. That's why there's no real book structure to it. It's all just his notes to himself. There's a good for instance. I read this with, where did I put it? Right here. You've heard me read this before. This is my own journal that I take on my travels with me. And it's got some stuff in here too. I got plant clippings in here, and I've got, what all have I got in the back of this before I get into the meditations here? Oh, this is just all my stuff from my last trip to Egypt. It's got all my tickets for getting in to seeing the events and the places. That's Hatshepsut's temple right there, as a matter of fact. There's how it looks. And these are the official tickets and things. And all of this was all the tickets to all the different things that we took people to see when they came on the Exodus reality adventures with us. And there you go, postcards and stuff like that. Oh, it's even got my old passport. That's the old beat up one. That's been replaced since that. But all my Egyptian stamps in there and things like that on my passport. And my old thuggish picture from my old passport. Boom. So that's all tucked in the back pocket of this. But I read something to Peter because we were talking about, oh, look at this. This is that, I've shown you this before, with this little clippings from the bush out in the Sinai, that the Bedouins were telling me this bush is very valuable. We clip these, we bundle them up and throw them in the fire, and they never burn. They never go out, the burning bush. So I'm not saying it wasn't miraculous, just saying that was one of the things in here. I've got other stuff in here as well, other plants. But this is something I wrote in my journal when I had that experience at Senenmut's tomb. And you can see here, this is what I did. I drew the little grotto and where I was sitting, where his tomb was. And I wrote, just like Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, I would make notes to myself so I won't forget the things I saw and experienced. I'll read you a couple of those, even though this isn't the meditations. But I had a couple of experiences that first trip in 2013. And I wrote of January 31st of 2013 in the Valley of the Nobles, the tomb of Ramos, the vizier, friend to Amenhotep, son of Hapu. I looked at a relief of Ramos, unaware that it was him, flash of tears, and a chill, just momentarily, not tears of emotion, but of presence and logistical or proximal awareness. Then it was gone, just a flash. A few minutes later, I sat in the quiet in the outer pillared chamber and attempted to clear my mind, just to see what might come my way. It was very quiet. Then a mental image in my mind's eye of 3 robed, shaved-headed priests in long white robes aside me, but not aware of me. Just a flash and then gone. Then, when looking at the relief of the man again, which I now knew was Ramos himself, I saw him seated on a throne. Then a man reaching around from behind with a golden dagger. No violence, with only the ever so slightest hint of possible malevolence. Then it was gone. John told me later that there's nothing about a violent end for Ramos. I will need to mull this over to see if it's anything other than mental images and imagination. So I wrote that, and then I sketched the little dagger that I saw in my mind's eye. In that. Then on to this one. I'll read this. I've read this one before. Tuesday, February 4th, 2013, at the tomb TT353, which is one of the unfinished, unused tombs of Senenmut, that guy back there. And I'd had that experience there, which I won't get into now. It's a long story, but I wrote in my journal, just like Marcus Aurelius was writing in his, I'm sitting in the sand outside the unused tomb of Senenmut. I stood in this little natural grotto and was overwhelmed with emotion. Not sure precisely why. Tears, many tears. I'm not even sure if Senenmut is Moses, not even so sure that Moses existed as I was taught. But someone is here. Someone grabbed my emotions, and I don't want to let them go. And that's what I wrote on the day that experience took place at Tomb TT353. So this is the kind of thing, and it's because I had this out and I just read from this tonight. This is what Marcus Aurelius is doing in his meditations. He's writing to himself, not necessarily that this would ever be compiled into a book or somebody would read it, but he's writing about his stuff the things he experienced, the things he's learned. And we left off on number 6 of his second book of his meditations, and there's 12 books in all, by the way. Some are short, some are longer. On the River Gran among the Quadi. And the last one that we left off on, we just hit on it real quick. Marcus Aurelius says, yes, keep on degrading yourself, soul, but soon your chance at dignity will be gone. Everyone gets one life. Yours is almost used up, and instead of treating yourself with respect, you've entrusted your own happiness to the souls of others. He wrote this to himself. And it's interesting how that segues with what we were just talking about. Everyone gets one life. Yours is almost used up. He was speaking to himself as an older man. Yours is almost used up. All of us, our life is almost used up on the grand scale of things. And instead of treating yourself with respect, you've entrusted your own happiness to the souls of others. Be wary of that, he's telling himself. Don't do that. Number 7, he goes on, do external things distract you? Let me ask you that. What external things distract you? Then make time for yourself to learn something worthwhile. Stop letting yourself be pulled in all directions. Folks, you hear this? You hear what he's saying? This is not the Bible. This is not God's word. This is a man writing to himself about being human. Take this to heart. Make time for yourself to learn something worthwhile. Stop letting yourself be pulled in all directions. Focus. Be awake. Be aware that you are awake. But make sure you guard against other kinds of confusion. People who labor all their lives but have no purpose to direct every thought and impulse toward are wasting their time, even when hard at work. You're wasting your time. If you labor your whole life but have no purpose, no direction, you're wasting your time. We talked a little bit last week about something else he said, is that redeem the time for the days are evil, says the New Testament. Number 8, ignoring what goes on in other people's souls. No one ever came to grief that way. But if you won't keep track of what your own soul's doing, how can you not be unhappy? Pretty profound words. Keep an eye on what's going on inside. If you trouble yourself, when I do tarot readings, there is a card, the Queen of Cups. And it says, this is the woman, this just popped into my mind. This is a woman, it represents a woman who does and does and does and does and does for others. She bakes the pie for everyone, gives out pieces of pie, and then when it comes down to when she's finally got time to herself, she doesn't have a slice left for herself. And the warning in the card is save a slice of pie for yourself, or you're not going to have anything. So remember to sometimes you got to ignore what goes on in other people's souls, because no one ever came to grief that way. But if you won't keep track of what your own soul is doing, how can you not be unhappy? Then he goes on, don't ever forget these things. This is number 9. The nature of the world. Now remember, he's talking to himself, not to anybody else. The nature of the world, my nature, how I relate to the world, what proportion of the world I make up, and that you are part of nature, and no one can prevent you from speaking and acting in harmony with it always. It's a reminder to himself. Should be a reminder to all of us. Be mindful and never forget the nature of the world. your own nature, how you relate to the rest of the world, what proportion of the world you make up, and that you're a part of nature, and no one can prevent you from speaking and acting in harmony with it always, which means focus on doing that. Leslie in the chat room says, my soul has always been a giver. To my husbands, my children, and others I love, I have no regrets. And it's okay being a giver. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But don't forget self along the way. I don't think, Leslie, that you do. You take pretty good care of yourself. So sometimes we hope that karma will take care of us. If I give and give and give of myself, it'll come back threefold. So I used to operate a bit under that saying, I don't leave time for myself all the time, but I think that will come back. I used to say when raising my kids, when my twin daughters were young, really young, and Sam was born, and then my other three came along with Rainey, I would always say, I'm raising my kids so they want to have me around when I'm old. Now, that sounds really selfish, but really it isn't. I'm raising my kids to be the kind of people that will be kind and courageous and gracious throughout their lives. That's what I want. So there it is. He goes on to the next one, number 10. And I put this in the title for tonight's show, the kind of the subscript beneath. In comparing sins the way people do, Theophrastus says that the ones committed out of desire are worse than the ones committed out of anger, which is good philosophy, Marcus says. The angry man, he writes to himself, reminding himself, seems to turn his back on reason out of a kind of pain and inner convulsion. That's what anger does to us. We turn our back on our reason out of whatever pain is driving us, the anger that comes from pain, inner convulsion. But the man motivated by desire, who is mastered by what pleasures him, seems somehow more self-indulgent, less manly in his sins, he puts it. Theophrastus is right and philosophically sound to say that the sin committed out of pleasure deserves a harsher rebuke than one committed out of pain. Now, this is just philosophy. It may not be good theology, it's good philosophy. The sins that we commit out of wanting for ourselves, to pleasuring ourselves, and so on, are more grievous than the sins that are committed out of our pain. The angry man is more like a victim of wrongdoing, provoked by pain to anger. The other man rushes into wrongdoing on his own, moved to action by his desires. Stop on all of that for just a minute and think about that. When we move on our own, provoked or proliferated by our desire to get ahead, our desire to treat somebody differently than we should, the desire to fulfill pleasures, that is going to be something that consumes us. When we commit sins of anger out of our anger because our pain created that, that's a very different thing. So he's reminding himself of this. True parents have a hard time understanding their child's own dreams, said Rimeldian. Maybe so. Number 11, here with Marcus Aurelius. He says, you could leave life right now, he tells himself. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Be determined to live your life as if it's not going to be there later today. Let that determine what you do and say and think. If the gods exist, then to abandon human beings is not frightening. The gods would never subject you to harm. And if they don't exist or don't care, what happens to us? And what would be the point of living in a world without gods or providence? I spoke of gods and providence last week. But, Marcus says, the gods do exist. They do care what happens to us. And everything a person needs to avoid real harm, they've placed within him. If there were anything harmful on the other side of death, they would have made sure that the ability to avoid it was within you. Not just a fear hung out there. Maybe that's borderlining on theology a bit. If there was anything harmful on the other side of death, the gods would have made sure that the ability to avoid it was within you. If it doesn't harm your character, how can it harm your life? Nature would not have overlooked such dangers through failing to recognize them, or because it saw them but was powerless to prevent or correct them. Nor would it ever, through inability or incompetence, make such a mistake as to let good and bad things happen indiscriminately to good and bad alike. But death and life, success and failure, pain and pleasure, wealth and poverty, all these happen to good and bad people alike, and they are neither noble nor shameful, and hence neither good nor bad. Leslie Hoker said it's within you. That's why God gave you free will. That's a theological point of view, one that I lived in for a very, very long time. Number 12. The speed with which all of them vanish, the objects in the world, and the memory of them in time, and the real nature of the things our senses experience, especially those that entice us with pleasure or frighten us with pain, or are loudly trumpeted by our pride. To understand those things, how stupid, contemptible, grimy, decaying, and dead they are. That's what our intellectual powers are for. And to understand what those people really amount to, whose opinions and voices constitute fame, and what dying is. And that if you look at it, the abstract, and break down your imaginary ideas of it by logical analysis, you realize that it's nothing but a process of nature, which only children can be afraid of. Solomon said some of these very things in his book Ecclesiastes. And not only is it a process of nature, but a necessary one. And how man grasps God. He didn't say gods with the small g, God with a capital G. And how man grasps God, with what part of himself he does so, and how that part is conditioned when he does. It's all really profound. I could spend a month talking about this 12th meditation here, phrase by phrase, word by word. Hey, Susie Q. Good to see you. The real nature of things, he said, our senses experience, especially those that entice us with pleasure or self-pleasuring or the desires that we shouldn't have, or frighten us with pain, or are loudly trumpeted by our pride. Our senses experience these things. Number 13, he goes on, nothing is more pathetic than people who run around in circles, delving into things that lie beneath. He's got it in quotation marks. Delving into the things that lie beneath, and conducting investigations into the souls of the people around them, never realizing that all you have to do is be attentive to the power inside you and worship it sincerely. And he talks about many times through the meditations already how we are divine, he says. That's what he's talking to. Don't run around in circles. Be attentive to the power inside you. What do you think he's talking about there? Being awake and being aware that you are awake and you have this ability to tap into the divinity that God has given you. So to worship, it is to keep it from being muddied and with turmoil and becoming aimless and dissatisfied with nature, divine and human. What is divine? Deserves our respect because it is good. What is human deserves our affection because it is like us. And our pity too sometimes for its inability to tell good from bad. As terrible as blindness is the kind that can't tell white from black. Awake, not woke, says Leslie. Bingo, exactly. Ding, 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 ding. Woke is a political manipulation. Awake is something completely different. That's what Marcus Aurelius is talking about right here. He's saying nothing's more pathetic than people who run around in circles delving the things that lie beneath, conducting investigations into the souls of the people around them, never realizing that all you have to do is be attentive to the power you have inside you and worship it sincerely. This is where God resides. Garden helps me, says Susie Q. Exactly. I love gardening too. I don't have as much time to do it here, but I love doing it. So, number 14, he says, even if you're going to live 3,000 more years, say all of us are immortal. We're going to live for 3,000 more years. Or 10 times that, he goes on. Remember, you cannot lose another life than the one you are living now. Or live another life than the one you're losing. That'll someday be gone. The longest amounts to the same as the shortest. The present is the same for everyone. I don't care how old you are. We're all living now in this moment. We may have lots of memories and experiences stored up. We all live in the now. The present is the same for everyone. Its loss is the same for everyone. The loss of the present is the same for everyone. And it should be clear that a brief instant is all that is lost. For you can't lose either the past or the future. The past is already gone. The future hasn't happened. How could you lose what you don't have? Remember two things, he says. One, that everything has always been the same. And it keeps recurring. And it makes no difference whether you see the same things recur in 100 years to 200 or an infinite period. Number two, that the longest lived and those who will die soonest lose the same thing. The present is all they can give up. Since that's all you have. And what you do not have, you can't lose. We don't have the future. How can you lose something you never had? So you're always in the present. See where he's going? This is what he's telling himself. Number 15. Everything is just an impression. Monimus the Cynic. He's quoting Monimus the Cynic. Everything is just an impression. And the response is obvious enough, but the point is a useful one if you take it for what it's worth. And again, he's writing to himself. I got to keep saying that. He's telling himself everything is just an impression. This is what it means when we talk about when you become awake, you realize that you're living in the dream. And the whole world is living in the dream, and you have to rise above that. You become awake. You wake up from that. And then you become aware that you are awake. You can't lose what you don't already have. You can't lose the future because you never make it to the future. You're always in the present. Can't lose the past because it's already gone. All we lose is the present moment. 16. He says the human soul degrades itself. What does he mean by that? He divides it. 1. Above all, when the human soul does its best to become an abscess, a kind of detached growth on the world, that's when this happens. To be disgruntled at anything that happens is a kind of cessation from nature, which comprises the nature of all things. How often have you been disgruntled? I look at myself and I go, how often have I been disgruntled? I need to tell myself this thing every day. To be disgruntled at anything that happens is a kind of cessation from nature. Because nature, remember I've said before, nature is in a constant state of entropy. It's constantly flares into existence and dies, whether it takes a long time or a short time. Life is entropic. Nature is entropic. All we have is the moments that we have to make that into something better. I grumble all the time. I grumble when my kids don't do the dishes. Why? Because it's a burden on Rainey or me. If they don't do it and they go somewhere, they're off doing something, and it slips by, they didn't do their task, and we might have to do them ourselves, which is no big shakes, but everybody's got their job. So it disgruntles me. It makes me disgruntled. So I have to be careful of that. Yeah, that's a tough one for me, to not be disgruntled about things. When it turns its back on it, this is the second point he makes. When it turns its back on another, the human soul, how does it degrade itself? When it does its best to become an abscess, when it turns its back on another person, or sets out to do it harm, as the souls of the angry do. Just talked about being angry. Number 3, the soul does this when it's overpowered by pleasure or pain, one or the other. Number 4, when it puts on a mask and does or says something artificial or false, it degrades itself. When we lie, we degrade ourselves. When we mistreat others, we degrade ourselves. 5, when it allows its action and impulse to be without a purpose, it degrades itself. To be random and disconnected. Even the smallest things ought to be directed toward a goal. Funnel your small things. But the goal of rational beings is to follow the rule and law of the most ancient communities and states. Leslie says in the chat room, negative behavior degrades everything. Degrades ourselves is where that starts. You see why this book is so full of rich material. He's writing to himself, his notes to himself, but it sure means a lot to us. This is his philosophy that he studied. Let's see, we've only got a couple of minutes left, but he's got number 17, human life, he says. Duration, momentary. Nature, changeable. Perception, dim. Condition of body, decaying. Soul, spinning around. Fortune, unpredictable. Lasting fame, uncertain. Sum up, the body and its parts are a river, the soul a dream and mist. Life is warfare and a journey far from home. Lasting reputation is oblivion. Then what can guide us? He says. Only philosophy, he answers. Which means making sure that the power within stays safe and free from assault, superior to pleasure and pain, doing nothing randomly or dishonestly, and without imposture, not dependent on anyone else's doing something or not doing it. There's so little of this left. I think we'll just read this. We'll recap it tomorrow. And making sure that it accepts what happens and what is dealt is coming from the same place it came from. And above all, that it accepts death in a cheerful spirit as nothing but the dissolution of the elements from which each living thing is composed. If it doesn't hurt the individual elements, change continually into one another, why are people afraid of all them changing and separating? It's a natural thing, and nothing natural is evil. And that's the end of that book of meditations. And we got to go. Folks, we got to ditch quick. Stick around for the Captain's Cabin coming up right now. Live long and prosper.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey guys, welcome back. Captain's Cabin. Just a few seconds. We got to disconnect from the server over at the radio station. Oh, there it did it automatically all by itself. So here we are in the Captain's Cabin. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you here tonight. Hope you got to enjoy the meditations of Marcus Aurelius. We'll do more of that tomorrow night. You can see why this is going to go on for a while. We could call it other things and kind of trick you into believing we're doing different topics. This is really so much information connected to Marcus Aurelius's meditations that it's well worth taking our time to do this. And here, I've got to put this stuff back into my journal from whence it has not emerged for a couple of years at least. I want that stuff in there, staying safe. There we go. All right, there it is. All right, how's everybody tonight? Welcome to the Captain's Cabin. Was he writing this before Paul was in Rome? No, Dave, Uncle Dave, he wrote this around, they think, right in the 160s AD, so about 100 years after the time of Paul. So that's when he was emperor. Thank you, Morgan Snow. I appreciate that. Romeldian says people are afraid of change because they haven't learned to live for themselves. Well, there it is. That's a great point, Romeldian. That's a really good point. People are afraid of change because they haven't learned to live for themselves. Why do we want change? Because we want to, you could say, pleasure ourselves, or we want to have something that's better for ourselves. We're always looking for that thing. And so, yeah. Oh, I clicked on that. I enjoyed it, Scotty, very much so. Thank you, Leslie. So people are afraid of change because they don't live for themselves. When you don't live for yourself, you're always trying to plug the holes with something. We used to say, in ministry, I used to say, everybody's got a God-shaped vacuum in their heart that they keep trying to fill with other things. Keep filling it. And it never quite fits because it's shaped like God. Dave says, so he could have been, Marcus Aurelius could have been influenced by the word of Christ. I think so. It was becoming pretty widespread by his lifetime. Christianity. You're 100 years past the time of Paul and most of the disciples that were alive out there. Paul wrote in the 60s AD. I'm a selfish bastard. Does that work? Says Iowa X. Well, kinda. I get what you're saying. Sometimes we have to be selfish bastards. But refine that a little bit. Refine the selfish bastard part and say, we sometimes need to live to self, for self. Now that seems to fly in face of New Testament or Pauline Christianity, which says live for others, not for self. And I think his context, of course, is in spreading the gospel, emulating Christ, and so on. Did Christ live a life that was focused on himself? No. But did Christ eat food? Did he feed his body? Did he bathe? Did he pray for his own good and meditate? Yeah, he did all of those things. So while he was giving to others, which Marcus Aurelius just said in some of his meditations we read tonight, he says, give to other people. But always keep self at the forefront, because you have to take care of self to be able to take care of others. There it is. A simple life is the best life, says Leslie. The greatest rewards and the least disappointments. There it is. A simple life. I sometimes long for a much simpler life. So, and Susie Q, it is nice to have you back. Haven't seen you for a long time. I missed some of the conversation up there, so it's good to have you back in. I wonder if Marcus meditated under a Bodhi tree. I have no idea, Antonino. There we go again. Antonino. It just wants me, your name wants me to pronounce it a different way. Don't know why. Just call you Antoninus from now on. That's Marcus Aurelius, one of his names. Marcus Aurelius Antoninus. So there you go. It works. I believe in living a life in service to others, but that doesn't mean you ignore oneself. Think of it like in the airplane. They always tell you to put your own oxygen mask on first before you help somebody else. Well, that's it. Because if you pass out from the altitude, you're not going to be able to help anybody else. That's a good way to put it, Uncle Dave. Call me Antoninus, says Antonino. I like that. Antonino doesn't flow like Antoninus. For me, anyway. My apologies, but I'll call you Antoninus. So, I always remember Tony Curtis in Spartacus, the original Spartacus with Kirk Douglas, and he was Antoninus. He was a slave in Rome. So, what's going on with everybody tonight? Let me get the invite out here. If anybody wants to call in and share something in here that's pertinent to the group and the show, there it is. You can copy that stream, click on it, and you'll come right into the wings here, and I'll be able to see you. What's going on? Don't ask. I just asked, Leslie, what's going on? What's going on? So, good things, I hope. So, I am probably going up to Andy Dabbs tomorrow. That will affect the show the rest of the week, for a few days anyway, to hopefully put the final touches on this book I've been working on. Let's add Dave to the stream. Uncle Dave.
Hey,
how you doing?
I have my camera off because I think it works better when I'm driving.
Okay, we got you talking.
Well, there you go. Because
Remildian's working on his book.
Connect with the camera when I'm on the road, it has issues. I think it's too much bandwidth while I'm moving.
Just might be. Remildian's working on his book. That's a good thing, Remildian. You just got to work on it. You just do it. And not to be sing-songy like Nike or anything like that, but you just got to do it. The best way to write a book is to sit down and write it. So
I always find I have to make writing time for myself so I can write so many hours every day. And there are days when you just sit there and stare at the computer. but
Yep.
you have
Yep.
to block that time out and force yourself to go in there.
And I've done that too myself, where I just sit here trying to write things, and I end up just staring. My mind goes somewhere else, and so on.
I'm
and
a
so
writer. Well, all my art, very much moved by the muse. I have to have that inspiration to perform.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, I got to be inspired too. There's things that'll sometimes inspire me to do the things I need to do. Susie says, gardening here, need food. There you go. I'm going to need food myself pretty soon. I had some warmed up pizza from the Saturday night with the girls.
Oh boy!
Yeah. Wait, no, that was that Saturday? Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it
were
was
over on
Friday night, we
Friday
had
night.
salmon.
You made the salmon on Friday night. That's right. So
That was amazing salmon.
outstanding. That was hand caught by Rainey in Alaska.
Yeah, you just can't do better than fresh caught salmon.
Oh, even though it was frozen, we froze
It's
it right.
still, it's so much better than the store bought
yeah.
stuff. Even the farm raised fish just doesn't have the flavor.
There it is. Morgan Snow likes painting.
Almost done with my painting. I'm so close.
Yep, you're very close. I would love to paint another mural. I'd love to paint a mural. Rowan wants me to do a mural for her. And I can't do it in this house. We don't know that we'll be here in 6 months. So I'm going to hold that off until we own our own house again. I don't like painting murals on the walls of rented properties. I don't care about them saying you can't do that, because I'm like, well, stop me. You can paint it over if you want to, but I don't want to do that. So
that was all garbled for me. I couldn't understand any of that.
Sorry to hear it. Just if you want to paint, you paint. Romeldian says, just eat the pizza cold. I've done that many times. No big deal. We've got a pizza oven, one of those big bar pizza ovens where you slide the grill out and you put your pizza back on it and you warm it up that way. I like the cheese to get hot and melty again. My kids will throw it in the microwave because that's just the way they grew up. I'll just throw it in the microwave. And it gets soggy, gross.
Yeah, it's bad way.
Put it in the oven. So, yeah, they'll just paint over it, Leslie. But I'm not going to put all the time and effort into doing a nice painting on the wall and have it just painted over.
I have come to the determination that Leonardo da Vinci always had paint in his beard.
Paints in his what?
Beard.
Oh, in his beard? Yeah.
I have never been able to paint without coming home with all kinds of paint encrusted in my beard.
Oh, in his beard.
A veritable rainbow of colors.
Yep.
It either dangles in the palette or it gets in the mixing cups. It's terrible.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I'll have my coffee cup sitting here, and then I'll have my cup that's full of my paint water. Just when I'm doing watercolor, and I'll be painting away, and I'm looking down, I'm painting, and I rinse that brush out, and I start painting again, and realize I've just cleaned for the last 10 minutes in my coffee. So it adds an artistic flavor to the coffee.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've had some murals I've painted. Dave and I did a mural together. I think I'm pretty sure I mentioned this when we did that mural on the Mexican cantina.
Oh yeah.
That was a beautiful mural when we were done.
Loved it.
Mexican themes. Well, within not even a year, he went out of business, and that mural's gone now.
I've done so many walls that have been painted over or torn down.
Yep. Iowa X says the shortages, tampons, and helium are running out. It's a weird world. Ain't that the truth? Yeah, purple coffee, Susie Q. Sometimes. Leslie says, not me so much as Amelia. She was just painting. the other day and washed or brushed in my Intrepid coffee cup. I do it all the time. In my Intrepid coffee.
I drank my brush water a couple of days ago.
Yeah, you go, ooh, my coffee's cold. That wasn't coffee. So,
I
exactly.
remember putting cream in this.
Yeah. So there it is. So, oh, excuse me. Wow. What's everybody else doing? How's life? Who wants to call in and talk with us a little bit? I used to love KFC, said Susie Q. I still do, but I only have it once every 6 years. So it's like, oh, boy, was that good.
It's
I
not
like
the
fried
same.
chicken. What's that?
It's not the same.
It's not the same. Oh, anymore, you mean?
Yeah.
Probably not. I like a good fried chicken, though. My mom used to make great fried chicken. Probably still does, just doesn't have an opportunity. And by the way, some people, friends of my mom's, I didn't even know this till I saw their announcement. My mom is coming up here from Arizona July 9th, July 11th, which is only 3 weeks away. 3. No, it's a month from now. She turns 80. So she's flying up. She might be driving up for all I know. We're gonna
She's
have her
feisty. She
80th.
might be.
Yeah, my mom makes 80 look like the new 60. And so she'll be up here and doing a birthday party for her on the 9th of July. So that's coming.
Are the girls coming back for that?
They're going to try. They're going to be gone. They're already going to be out of town for the first part of that week. So they think they're going to be able to do it. So, yeah, Leslie, I think my daughters are in a place in life where if they want to go somewhere, they go. So they've got the extra money to do that now. And I'm very happy for
They're
them.
not like us. They don't have to look at the price of things. They just do.
That's right. They have tight times, but their tight times are different than my tight times, which is just fine. And I'm proud of them and happy for them. If they want to get up and
Their
travel
ideas of
somewhere,
tight
they
and
go.
our ideas of tight are not the same.
Yeah. So, and I'm good with that for them. Scotty
it's
Roberts. Fine. Scotty Roberts asks Antonio G. or Antoninus, who is the woman in Revelation chapter 12? I think she's symbolic. I don't think she's a literal woman. But for the sake of this little program, let's look at Revelation chapter 12 and see what it says. Shall we? Let's look at it in, I'm going to look at it in a little different version, a more amplified version, which I like, the Message, which is a great version. If you want your text expanded into modern idiom, there it is, the Message. Revelation 12 says this: a great sign appeared in heaven. A woman dressed all in sun. See, it says right there, it's a sign. A great sign appeared in heaven. A woman dressed all in sunlight, standing on the moon, and crowned with 12 stars. She was giving birth to a child who cried out in the pain of childbirth. And cried out in the pain of childbirth. Then another sign alongside the first, a huge and fiery dragon. It had 7 heads and 10 horns, a crown on each of the 7 heads. With one flick of its tail, it knocked a third of the stars from the sky and dumped them on earth. The dragon crouched before the woman in childbirth, poised to eat up the child when it came. The woman gave birth to a son who will shepherd all nations with an iron rod. Her son was seized and placed safely before God on his throne. The woman herself escaped to the desert, to a place of safety prepared by God. All comforts provided her for 1,260 days. War broke out in heaven. Michael and his archangel, or and his angels, fought the dragon. The dragon and his angels fought back, but they were no match for Michael. They were cleared out of heaven, not a sign of them left. The great dragon, ancient serpent, the one called devil and Satan, the one who led the whole earth astray, thrown out, and all his angels thrown out with him, thrown down to earth. Then I heard a strong voice out of the heavens saying, "Salvation and power are established. Kingdom of our God, authority of his Messiah, the accuser of our brothers and sisters, thrown out, who accused them day and night before God. They defeated him through the blood of the Lamb and the bold word of their witness. They weren't in love with themselves. They were willing to die for Christ. So rejoice, O heavens, and all who live there, but doom to earth and sea, for the devil's come down on you and with both feet. He's had a great fall. He's wild and raging with anger. He hasn't much time, and he knows it. When the dragon saw that he'd been thrown to earth, he went after the woman who had given birth to the man-child. The woman was given wings of a great eagle to fly to a place in the desert, to be kept in safety and comfort for a time and times and half a time. Safe and sound from the serpent. The serpent vomited a river of water to swamp and drown her, but earth came to her help. Swallowing the water the dragon spewed from its mouth. Helpless with rage, the dragon raged at the woman, then went off to make war with the rest of her children, the children who keep God's commands and hold firm to the witness of Jesus.
Yeah, you can't make some dragons happy.
Some dragons, I would say that sounds an awful lot like Mary, the mother of Jesus, but there are things in that passage that say it isn't, that says something completely different. What is the symbolic language? What does it mean? Is it talking about the Messiah? Because it mentions the Messiah almost as someone who's already there aside from her. Is it talking about the preordained, or not preordained, the pre-incarnate Messiah, Christ? The post-incarnate Christ? Very possibly.
Gorgeous moon tonight.
What's that?
Beautiful moon tonight.
Oh, I'm not seeing it from where I'm sitting. I'll have to go outside.
Full and bright. With occasional clouds passing over it, which artistically I always like.
Iowa X has said this. I almost said the same thing while I was reading it. They must have had some good drugs out on that island he wrote on. Yeah, that was only one chapter. And he was in his 90s, they say, when he wrote this stuff. So, yeah, John was pretty out there. So there you go.
They have peyote in the middle.
They've got their own versions of it, I'm sure. I don't think they have peyote. But they have hallucinogens, to be sure.
Magic mushrooms.
So, Antoninus, who do you believe the woman is in Revelation 12? I'm just gonna look it up. Yeah, the Virgin Mary. That's what I thought. The woman of the apocalypse is a figure described in chapter 12. The woman gives birth to a male child who's threatened by a dragon, identified as the devil and Satan, who intends to devour the child as soon as he is born. And yeah, here's another one. Who is the woman of Revelation? The dogma of the Assumption, this is very Catholic, teaches that at the end of her time on earth, Mary was taken up, body and soul, into heaven, and there she sits at her son's right hand as Queen of heaven and earth. So this is the Christian goddess, by the way. The foundation for the teaching is rooted in Scripture, specifically in John's mysterious and apocalyptic visions recorded in Revelation 12. First and foremost, the woman of Revelation is identified as Mary, the one who brought forth a male child one who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron, caught up to God and his throne. Revelation 12, however, also uses imagery that reveals the woman is to be daughter of Zion, the queen bride of Israel, a symbolic woman, the mother of the church, the Catholics would say. And so in likening the woman to the queen bride of Israel, his description of her echoes Isaiah, who said that Israel would be arrayed like a radiant queen bride. Solomon's bride in the Song of Solomon is similarly described. John drives this point home in Revelation by telling us that the woman wears a crown of 12 stars, an obvious symbol of the 12 tribes of Israel. And it goes on. There's more to read about this. The picture Revelation paints serves as the biblical outline for the church's dogma of Mary's Assumption. I did a painting for a Catholic woman once when, this is 1991. So we're talking over 30 years ago. She was very Catholic, and she wanted me to paint a picture of the Virgin Mary for her. And she wanted this Virgin Mary to have her feet over the full moon and the angels holding her train as she ascended into heaven. I'm going to see if I still have that.
Did you use Rainey as a model for that?
I didn't know her then. That was 30 years ago.
She'd make a great Virgin Mary.
Yeah, she would. She's got the look. Let's see. I'm going to look at this.
Now, Amanda would make a great Mary Magdalene. Because she's got...
You're talking Amanda Fonder?
Amanda.
Our Amanda.
Our Amanda.
Not Australian Amanda.
No.
Okay.
Andy.
I had this picture somewhere. I guess I don't anymore. That's too bad. I just have to look in one spot here. If I've got it, folks, I'll show you, because I went by her description because I wasn't familiar 30 years ago with the Catholic imagery of the Virgin Mary. Let's see here. Look under illustrations I might have. It all depends on how I entitled it. If I entitled it Mary and it's just not coming up. Nope. I don't know where I stored that. I would have had this in here. So I'm a little, where I might have it. It's on my website. Let me look. Hold on.
Titled it Cherry Mary.
Cherry Mary. Let's see if it's on my website.
That's how Antonio would have titled it.
Antonio. Not Antoninus.
Nope.
But,
Antonio is a very different.
Let's see. I think I've got her in here. Yep, there she is. Oh, it doesn't let me see it. It's for some reason. So therefore, it should be. Hold on. It should be in my folder. Mary. It's the Mary.jpg. Let's see if I can find that in the right folder here. If I go to my HTML folder for I know this is riveting, folks. Hold on to the edge of your seats. Let's see. Riveting radio. Looking
Big
for
time.
Big time. Looking for the
Here,
HTML
I'm going
folder.
to pull a picture up and share it on my screen. Everybody watch now. Right,
Watch
okay,
this.
that's not it.
No, it's watching me look for it. It's watching me look.
I'll look in this folder over here. Nope, that's not. Whoa, don't open that one.
Watching me look for it is the mystery. Let's see. Kate. I got Kate in here. What's Kate? Whoops. I can't show you that one. And Dave was right when he told you that. Now, why would the picture of Mary
I've
The
been through
thumbnail.
through your computer. I know what folders you can and can't share.
That's that nude I did of Kate when I did that series of nudes
Yep.
of her.
Just write Olson on those, and you'll know not to click on those when you're.
It's actually on my website. So, see, I've got the thumbnail in here, but I don't have the.
There's a famous painting called The Bather by, and I can't think of the artist's name. It's a woman nude, and I swear it's got Kate's face.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. I looked at that and I went, wow, she's been around a long time, because it's like from the 1800s, but
Wow. Well,
it could just be an early Olson. It's hard to say.
it might be an early Olson. Well, folks, just to give you an idea, it doesn't have the whole picture. I'm disturbed that I can't find that picture. I must have inadvertently named it something else or stored it somewhere else.
Tell you, look up Mary.
Here, look. If I share my screen, boom, share, and I go over here to my website, you can see this is my illustration page. And if I go down here, this right here is a close-up of Mary's face. I click on it, though, it doesn't let me go to the picture. So about the only way I could find that would be to go look it up and see what the code is and see if I named the picture something else. It can't find it right now, which sucks. But so there's not much I can do about that. If I open up the here, another way to tell is illustrations. If I go to
In a new one, can't take very long.
illustration, if I open this and I go down to, well, there's Mary. This is the old version. It's connected to, yep, Mary.jpg, which doesn't exist. So there you go. Let me quit that. So I could go over here on my own website and just go Mary.jpg and see if the image comes up. Nope, it won't bring it up.
Feel like paint the ceiling?
What about the ceiling?
Do you feel like painting a ceiling?
Not necessarily. But why? What ceiling do you have? If it pays me enough, I'll paint a ceiling. Laying on my back on a scaffolding, painting.
Yeah, does
I'm
that
not going
sound
to stand
exciting?
like this and paint. I can tell you that. Iowa X once slept with a woman that looked like Kate Winslet, but it was not Kate Winslet, even with a picture. Well, there it is. Google stole it from me, says Susie Q. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. You can't open it. You got to have permission from the artist.
Leslie, I don't think, yeah, really. I don't think it would be under Mary Moon. I don't think I would have named it that. I had it in my Facebook once. You know, it might be over in my my Facebook. If I were to look at it over in my what's my page? I gotta find my own pages.
I'd help you look, but I'm driving, so.
Where do you find those now on Facebook? My own page. The hang on, we'll find it. If it's there, I mean, I'll find it.
I figured out how come I haven't been able to sleep.
Why haven't you been able to sleep?
Because I paint till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and then I drink a huge 16-ounce coffee on my way back to Rochester every night.
There it is. Yeah, that's a good reason. So I'm over here in here. God, his Facebook pages are so hard to navigate. It's like, where are my photos? There they are. All right, I'm going to scroll through and see if I've got Mary in here. And if I do, I'll show you alls. This stuff goes way back. Here, look at this. Folks, if you're not too bored with me doing this, come over here for a second. Let me share this. Share my screen. Boom. Share. Go over to my Facebook page here. So if you see right here, this page has all my photos. Well, this is my Scotty Roberts design and illustration page. And if I scroll through here, you're going to see, going backwards in time, all these photos and things that I have put up of my artwork over the years. All right in here, logos I've designed, shirts I've designed, digital design, illustration work.
Hundreds of things I've never paid for.
Yeah, hundreds of things Dave's never paid for, or half the other people I know. Let's see, there's the ones about the life of Jesus for that book. That was 4 years ago now, believe it or not. We keep going back, keep going back. I'm hoping the pictures of Mary are in here.
Thank you, by the way, for that work today.
Oh, took all of 12 seconds.
Yeah, it's just to mess with somebody's head.
Oh, okay. You got it. I made it a little transparent so it looked like it was actually painted on the blind.
Yep, I love it. It's perfect.
Okay, more logos, more logos. Tam O'Hare. Book covers, old art, reptilian covers. Come on. I would have had to have put her in here, I would think. But alas, I did not. Because it's not here. Look at that. That's worse. What's worse about thinking you put something somewhere is when you go to look for it and it's not there.
I've got two whole books that have gone missing.
Yeah.
No idea.
I lost some
They
books
were
once.
completed manuscripts. I have no idea where they're saved at.
I don't think I have art in here. Moses. You know, that's such a fun piece. I took pictures. I rescanned the pictures last year on this computer. But can I find them? No. No.
Because you want it. If you didn't want it, you'd be running across it all the time.
If I didn't want it, I'd find it in a heartbeat. So that's the sad truth of that, isn't it? Yeah, there we go, folks. I don't have it. That's too bad. And it's talking about Mary. And it was a neat picture that I painted of Mary 30 years ago.
Just Bob Ross it for us. Just set up a canvas and paint it for us while we watch.
Yeah. I could do a thumbnail sketch that way, and that's about it.
I posted the closet on a Bob Ross site that I'm a member of. And everybody's just raving about it. It's good work. It's not great work. It's down in dirty, but
I'm going to try one other thing. By any chance, it's in a message. Mary JPEG. I
look forward to having time to just put paint on canvas and not be rushed and do real quality work.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? What's that?
Well, I've got the Sonic pieces I'm starting, and I don't have a deadline on them, so I'm just going to take my time, and they'll be done when they're done.
Yes. All right, I'm going to stop my screen, mostly because I can't find it. So it might be a zip. No. You know, I scanned these from the photos not long ago. You know what? The photos might be right here. They're old photographs. Hold on.
Scotty, where'd you go? I hear like an echoey voice. You're not there.
I'm here.
Okay.
All right. I'll bet you anything. The actual photos are here.
I love it. This is what I love about you, Scotty. You will not give up.
I will not give up. Because I know it's here. I found part of it. Here they are. These are old weathered photo. They're kind of yellowish, these photos. That's how old they are. But here you go. All right, folks. I'll show you these as best I can on the screen. This is not digital, so I can't just call it up. But let's do this. Here, I'm going to expand my I'm going to expand me to the full screen. You can all see this now. Now, this is a close-up. Here's Mary. All right. If anybody's looking, if you can see that. So there's Mary. I painted her as very much a white woman. I don't know why. That was 30 years ago. So there's Mary, and there's the crown with the 12 stars in it. An angel is a cherub is. This is, you can't see much detail, but this is how the whole painting looked. So there is Mary. That little section you just saw, that's expanded. Try to get it so the light is not shining right off of it. So you can see the moon beneath her feet.
Oh, yeah.
And the train, and they're pulling, and she's ascending into heaven.
Genius, darling.
And the character right down here in the corner, I used the face of the woman that had me paint this for her. It was one of our top salespeople, Maureen. Beautiful woman, and she wanted me to paint this for her. And so I put her face in it with that angel. Let's see if there's any more here that do it justice. Let's see. I think they're all just kind of repeats of the same thing. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, just repeats. So there it is again. There's the whole scene again. And this painting measured about 28 inches across by maybe 14 inches tall, something like that. So that was the whole thing right there. And she paid me, I don't remember what she paid me. Maybe $200.
Never enough.
It's never enough. But that was what, 30 years ago. She paid me $200 for that. So there you go. Yeah.
Hunter did a few paintings by blowing paint through a straw and got 500,000 a piece.
You know that was a scam. So there's something behind that.
I think we should just argue it's Biden inflation, and we should demand 500,000 for our paintings.
Oh, look at these slides. Look at this one, folks. Isn't that an amazing picture? And I got this other one here too.
But
just going through my slides. Wow, these are from Honduras.
Put your phone up there on a white screen and lay them in front of it. Then we'll be able to see them.
Yeah, I could. Wait, what's that one?
You are so funny.
Oh, so there you go, folks. That was my picture of Mary. All that buildup.
No kids interrupting tonight. Did you sell them?
I don't know what Rainey did to them. She's up there with them somewhere. So she kept them. Oh, she had a girlfriend stop by with her kids that play with my son. And so, oh, by the way, folks, I got to show you this. It's sitting in this box. There's Ryan Gale. Ryan Gale, who comes into the chat room. He's the one that gave me the idea to do the sword and the clay. Ryan Gale, historian. That's when he first learned to play fiddle.
An author himself. He's written many books.
Yep. And this was back in 1998 when he still had hair.
He's one handsome man.
One handsome man. So, see, there's stuff in this box I forgot was even here. But I'm now glad I found pictures of my dad in the Marines, stuff like that. So, we've all got boxes of pictures like this, you know? And just crazy old pictures here. I was just wondering if there's anything.
We're doing a radio show.
I know we are. But we're not on the radio now. We're on video. So there you go, folks. I got some great old pictures of the royal court here. Stuff like that. It would be just amazing if they were digital and I could show them to you. All I can say is, this is from 2004. It's good to be the prince. That was when I I played the Royal Prince at the festival. Look at that. Just for a weekend. So, because I wasn't the prince. So there it is. All right. That's all I got. Moving on.
Smoking hot.
I know you're all wishing I would go on with this, with photos out of my photo box. But, and I have to get this repaired. This is my big old camera. So that's it. This is what I do. This is who I am. I'm sorry, but I make no apologies. Leslie's got to get her butt out of here and try to get some sleep. Good night, Scotty, and good night, all
Sweet
you
dreams,
amazing
Leslie.
troubles. Good night, Leslie. Thank you for everything, always. Ryan Gale is here. I don't think I was even old enough to drink. I don't think you were back then. I got that picture of you, though. I'll scan it and send it to you. I got a couple more with you in them, too. So,
That's a
I didn't
mean
know you were
World
there,
War I
Ryan.
impression, too.
What's that?
That's a mean World War I impression, too.
He does. Oh, man, he said. Oh, I'm glad you were there. So, this isn't riveting radio, folks. I shot my wad during the radio show, and this is Captain's Cabin, where we talk about whatever the hell we want.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And so I'm growing hungry. I haven't eaten. It's bad to eat late at night, but I'm hungry.
Any of that leftover salmon, it would be okay for you to eat late at night.
Rainey ate that for lunch.
Oh, well, good for her.
And I had a couple of
She didn't
bites
eat any
of it.
that night.
I had a couple of bites of it. Yeah, I know. She didn't eat much that night. And she's looking sweet tonight, though. I will share my screen one more time with y'all so I can show you this. Share screen. Share it. Boom. This was taken 5 minutes before the show tonight. Well, I never imported it. I went right from my phone. So I'll take you to my Facebook page. Here it is. There she is. That was taken just tonight. So just before the show. I said to Rainey, we don't have
Just as beautiful as she was this afternoon.
Yes. Always beautiful. So I just told her, I said, we don't have any pictures of us, recent. Pictures of us doing stuff with other people and the kids and all of that.
That her dad she's with?
Yeah. No, her grandpa. When we go out to eat, would your dad like some cream in his coffee? Hey, I can talk. Like, honey, would I like cream in my coffee? Yes, I would, but it's always better when I get to pour it off her naked breasts into my cup. Right, honey? So there she is. She couldn't make it into the show. And this weekend, for those of you who didn't see,
I look older than my two older brothers.
Look at that one. There's Rainey in 2004. It's the year we met.
She with Amanda?
No, that's somebody else. I don't know who that is.
Is it Ashley?
I have no idea who that is.
Well, I can't see it. It looks really tiny.
No, it's not Ashley. But this is...
no.
I met her and started dating her the next year. So.
Is that Kate in costume?
No.
Standing next to her?
I don't know who the fuck it is, Dave.
Well, it looks like Kate.
It's not. So there you go. Let me stop sharing my screen now because I'm just being self-serving. So there you go. All right. Everybody, Susie Q,
old and senile to
5:30
remember.
does come early. And, Michelle Cannonfree hearted it a few minutes ago, that picture. Thank you. So we're going to get out of here. Uncle Dave, you still driving?
I am still driving. I'm literally like 8 blocks from home, though.
Okay. Well, we'll be off the radio before you get home.
Yep.
So good to have you, brother. I will see you tomorrow night.
Everybody be well.
There it is. All right, folks. We're out of here. This is it. We're done. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being here for the Captain's Cabin. As uneventful as it was. I appreciate your time. And we will talk to you then, of course, again tomorrow night. We'll be doing this all over again, only different. So live long and prosper.